On the 27th of February 2016, Everton announced that Farhad Moshiri had purchased a 49.9% stake in the club, with an agreement in place to increase his share to 68.6% 2 years later, ending the club's 10-year search for new investment. The Iranian billionaire had sold his shares in Arsenal in order to make the move happen, and since becoming a major shareholder at Goodison Park, the club has experienced a makeover. One of English football's sleeping giants, Everton were a well-established but low-spending Premier League side, one that had to sell its prized assets in order to stay afloat. Moshiri's huge investments has transformed them into major players in the transfer market and turned their plans to build a new stadium from a pipe dream into an actual project. However, when he came in, the businessman spoke of a determination to catch up with the likes of Manchester City, Liverpool and Chelsea, and his reign has so far failed in this regard, especially when you consider that just 2 years before he entered Goodison, the club had finished 5th in the league on 72 points, a total good enough for Champions League qualification in 4 of the last 6 seasons. In the 5 years he's been at the club, they have won 0 silverware, have qualified for the Europa League just once, and in 2019-20 finished in 12th, their lowest league placing since 2004. But why have Everton made so little progress on the field under Moshiri, and have they now turned a corner? Let's find out. Across the 5 years since Moshiri's arrival, Everton rank 9th in the world for net spend, above rivals Liverpool as well as Tottenham, Juventus and Bayern Munich. Unlike the Glazers, Mike Ashley or Stan Kroenke for example, Moshiri didn't get involved with Everton to bag himself a profit, and his generous investment has been greeted with enthusiasm by the fans. However, Everton's dealings in the market since he began investing have not always been very intelligent. In Moshiri's first full season, the club spent a combined £59.4 million on Yannick Bolasie, Morgan Schneiderlin and Ashley Williams. Out of the 3, only Schneiderlin took part in more than 2 seasons, while Bolasie, the club's second most expensive signing at the time, made just 32 appearances and scored just twice. But while the acquisitions of Idrissa Gueye and Dominic Calvert-Lewin proved worthwhile, the club's business the following season had an even worse ratio of hits to misses. In 2017-18, having collected around £76 million from the sale of Romelu Lukaku, the Toffees spent almost £90 million on Davy Klaassen, Nikola Vlasic, Henry Onyekuru, Sandro Ramirez, Cenk Tosun and Theo Walcott. While they made a small profit on Vlasic and Onyekuru, they lost over £12 million on Klaassen and ended up letting Ramirez go for free, while Walcott was the only signing to make over 50 league appearances at Goodison. Jordan Pickford, Michael Keane and Gylfi Sigurdsson also arrived for a combined £95.8 million, and while they all continue to feature regularly, have all endured long spells of poor form. Crucially, they failed to replace Lukaku, and the lack of an elite goalscorer dogged the club for a number of seasons, while they even flirted with relegation during the first half of the 17-18 campaign. This poor run of signings was largely down to Steve Walsh, Leicester's former chief scout who had been hired as the club's director of football in 2016. Having unearthed N'Golo Kanté and Riyad Mahrez while at the King Power, Walsh had quite the reputation, but the size of the task was clearly too big for him, and in 2018 was replaced by Marcel Brands, who had overseen successful periods at AZ Alkmaar and PSV Eindhoven, signing and developing talents like Moussa Dembele, Jorginho Wijnaldum and Hirving Lozano. Brought in on the premise of clearing deadwood, reducing the average age of the squad and building a young, vibrant side that would build success over a number of years, Brand's record at Goodison has been patchy. Richarlison and Luca Digne, both signed in his first summer, have both been successful, while Yerry Mina and Andre Gomez have also established themselves as regulars. But the club hasn't invested particularly well in youth. Digne and Gomez had both celebrated their 25th birthdays by the time they signed, while Fabian Delph was nearing 30 when he joined from Man City. Younger players like Moise Kean and Alex Iwobi haven't impressed, and of the club's top 10 appearance makers this term, only Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison and Ben Godfrey are under 26. And while signings like Jared Branthwaite and Neil Nkunku offer some hope for the future, the club's transfer policy has shifted back to an emphasis on established stars since the hiring of Carlo Ancelotti. James Rodriguez and Alan, 29 and 30 respectively, had both worked with the Italian coach before, while Abdoulaye Doucouré, 28, is a tried and tested Premier League midfielder. It's perhaps no surprise then that the average age of the Everton team in 2021 is 26.3, the exact same as when Brands took the job in 2018. The Toffees have of course improved with players like Allen and Doucouré in the side, while James is the kind of signing Moshiri would have dreamt of back in 2016 when he earmarked Cesc Fabregas and Mesut Ozil as potential acquisitions. But it's difficult to see exactly what the club's transfer policy now is, and their strategy in the market has certainly been inconsistent under Brands, whose contract at Goodison is up in the summer. If he and Ancelotti continue to work together, it's possible that the vision he initially had for the club will continue to be compromised. Another reason why Everton have struggled to maintain a consistent transfer strategy under Moshiri has been the fact they have hired 4 different managers since the summer of 2016. For context, that's the same number of coaches the club got through in the previous 19 years. And while this certainly isn't out of the ordinary in modern football, it has meant that achieving anything that could be described as a project hasn't been easy. Moshiri is known for his loyalty, trust and generosity, telling Jim White in 2016, "The job of an owner and chairman is simply to hire and fire the manager. Once we hire a manager, we back him." This attitude has seen him give each of his appointments significant backing in the market, with Ronald Koeman spending £220 million in 18 months, Sam Allardyce spending £41 million in a single January window, and Marco Silva buying £199 million worth of talent across 3 windows. And each switchover has signalled a new era. Koeman's pragmatic approach was a far cry from the possession purism of Roberto Martinez, while Allardyce was brought in as a quick fix to steer the club clear of relegation. Marco Silva, hired at the same time as Marcel Brands, implemented a more attacking high-pressing style, while Ancelotti has used a number of different systems since taking over at the end of 2019. This has seen once favoured signings become deadwood, costing the club yet more money in transfer fees and wages, and has meant that for all the spending, league performance hasn't really improved. In 2016-17, Moshiri's first full campaign at the club, Everton amassed 61 points and finished 7th. In the 3 full seasons since, however, they have failed to breach the 60-point mark and finished with fewer than 50 points on 2 occasions, something they had only managed once in the 11 years before the businessman's arrival. In 2017-18, their 9.4 shots per game ranked 19th in the league, below West Brom and Huddersfield, while their 14.2 shots conceded didn't fare much better. Their attacking and defensive numbers haven't looked anywhere near as disastrous since, but following their improved 2018-19 campaign under Marco Silva, when they ranked 8th in the division for goals and expected goals, ranked joint 5th for goals against and placed 4th for shots conceded, there hasn't been any significant progress. Expected goals for and against have consistently been around the 50 mark, while their shots per game actually fell from 12.3 to 10.2 between 2020 and 2021. We are yet to see the side display any continued improvement beyond a timescale of 12 months, and to catch up with the Premier League's established elite, improvement needs to be made over a number of years. Ancelotti may be the Hollywood appointment Moshiri has been building towards since taking over, but he hasn't lasted more than 2 years in a job since leaving Milan back in 2009, and isn't a coach often associated with long-term projects. If Everton are to consistently challenge for European places over the next few years, this will need to change. But there are reasons to be hopeful for Everton fans. It's generally true that if you continue to throw money at a project, it will eventually gain results, even if financial fair play means that doing a Chelsea or Man City is no longer possible. And while Moshiri has been accused of being naive in his generous backing of each and every manager, Carlo Ancelotti so far looks the best fit of any coach he's hired, and has by far the best track record. And while Marcel Brands' work in the transfer market has been a mixed bag, if he's given time and allowed to pursue his targets, there's reason to believe that success will follow. RZ Alkmaar won the Eredivisie 4 years after hiring him, while it took PSV 5 years to bag the title after his appointment. And although results are yet to show it, Everton does feel like a bigger club under Moshiri. Hiring someone like Ancelotti would have been inconceivable 10 years ago, as would a signing like James Rodriguez. The club previously ran its operations from old offices at Goodison Park, and now does so from Liverpool's iconic Liver building, which Moshiri himself part owns. And from these offices, club staff will get a view of the proposed 53,000-seater Bramley-Moore Dock Stadium, which will sit on the banks of the Mersey and could be hosting games as early as 2024, pending approval by the government. In 2020, The Athletic reported that the club's commercial growth had rocketed by 90% under Moshiri, impressive given the league average is 20%. And while the club has incurred big losses through its huge transfer outlays and wage bill, the Iranian's investment has reduced Everton's net debt from £56.5 million to just £2.3 million. A settled squad and a new stadium should make his project more financially sustainable in the long run. He may not often be seen at Goodison, but Moshiri is clearly passionate about the club and its history. And while his decision making has been poor on a number of occasions, bringing success and silverware back to the blue half of Merseyside has always been a priority for him. If he continues to learn from the mistakes of seasons past, he may well achieve that. So that was our take on Everton under Farhad Moshiri, but what did you make of it, and do you have any suggestions for similar videos we could do in the future? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like, and of course subscribe to Football Daily if you haven't already, and why not stick around by clicking on screen right now for another FD Explained. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.